Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. And on today's episode, San Jose Barracuda head coach John McCarthy joins the show to discuss what it's like being named the head coach, what development means to him, and I also put in my application to be an assistant coach. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now and Fear the Fin. And thank you, of course, for making us your first San Jose Sharks listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. And today, San Jose Barracuda head coach John McCarthy joins to talk about climbing into the new role as the Barracuda head coach, kind of what development means for him, how exciting the new prospects that are going to be making their appearance with the Barracuda are this season. So, without further ado, let's get to it with our interview with Coach John McCarthy. All right, and we are joined by San Jose Barracuda head coach John McCarthy. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Really appreciate it. So, I mean, it's been a big summer for you. Of course, you were named the San Jose Barracuda coach, or beginning of the summer, I guess, end of the season, but what does that mean to you personally to be named the coach?
It's a huge honor. You know, I've been with the organization almost my entire career. So it's been about 12 years now, almost 15 years since I've been drafted. 16 years since I've been drafted. So I've been kind of around these people, and there's been a little bit of turnover elsewhere, but essentially I've been around these people for almost my whole professional career. So to be able to kind of move into this position is huge. And, I played under Roy for almost 11 years and then worked under him for 3. I've learned from a great coach, one of the best there is, a record holder. And so, to kind of, I don't even want to think about trying to fill those shoes. It's more about kind of looking forward and seeing what we can do.
So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned Roy Sommers. So what is he kind of meant to you personally as you're kind of, as you said, trying to fill very large shoes? Yeah.
He's a fantastic coach. He's been doing it forever, holds almost every record there is in the American League. It is a little bit of a different animal, the American League. There's more of an emphasis on development, sending players to the NHL. Yes, wins and losses are important. Mm-hmm. Everybody's competitive. Everybody wants to win. But at the end of the day, the function of the American League is to produce the next crop of NHL players. So that's what we're going to try to do. And Roy has been, instrumental in kind of me learning how to be a coach. Like I said, I played for him. I mean, to say the majority is an understatement, almost my entire career. So to have learned from him and just kind of taking his passion for the game in the way he came into the rink every day, wanting to help the players get better. That's probably the main takeaway that I'll have from him. And, lucky for me, he's staying on as an advisor. He's always going to be there. I saw him last night, actually. Mm-hmm. He's always going to be there to answer the phone and any questions that I have, or it's a bit of an adjustment as I was working in development prior to this. So it's a little bit different role. So there'll be a little bit of a learning curve that he can help kind of help me along with.
Big question. Does he pass on one of the bolo ties to you as the new coach of the Barracuda?
No, I don't. That's not my thing. He's a Montana guy. No, he won't be doing that, but he passed on a lot of knowledge.
That's good. I think I'll take the knowledge over the bolo tie. I don't know if I could personally do the bolo tie, but I mean, it takes a very special person to pull off the bolo ties.
It does.
So you talked about development, and you were the Barracuda's developmental coach, and then you talked about that again in your press conference. What does that mean for fans who you're here to emphasize development? What does that actually mean?
Well, I think it means you're going to see, when you come to the Barracuda games, you're going to see the next crop of NHL players. We have a lot of exciting prospects coming into the system that we as the organization are very excited about, and the fans should also be very excited about, because they're talented players. They're young players, so they have a lot of time to grow and develop into those those NHL players that they will be one day. So essentially, if you're coming to the Barracuda games, there's a very good chance you're going to see the guys that will be playing for the Sharks, whether it's next year or a couple of years down the line, because the development, it's different for every player. We're getting guys at 19, 20 years old, and it's funny to think about. Some of them are still kind of growing into their bodies. Some of them are putting on a little bit of weight in the weight room. They're at a part in their career, a point in their career where there's a lot of changes going on, right? And they have to adjust to that pro game and adopt those habits that make people successful in professional hockey. And that's essentially what our job is to kind of bridge that gap from junior, where undoubtedly they were the best players on their team, and now they're coming in, and maybe they're going to have to adjust their role a little bit. They're going to have to adjust their habits. It is a job. They're going to have to, treat it as such. It's you have to come in ready to work every day, and you have to come in ready to get better every day. With development, it's funny. I always tell the guys, it doesn't necessarily matter where you start, ability-wise, as long as you keep improving. Teams are going to keep you around because essentially you're uncapped. We don't know how good you can get. It's the time where you plateau and they kind of realize, well, this is probably this guy's ceiling. That's probably when they're going to move on and go with somebody else. So from development, like I said, it's a different time frame for different prospects, depending on where they're at.
All right, guys, before we continue our interview with Coach McCarthy and talking about the Sharks' new prospects, we got to take a quick break and talk to you guys about our friends over at Built Bar. You guys know Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. And right now they have a new flavor, Mud Pie. Not sure what Mud Pie tastes like? Well, if you like chocolate, you better sit down for this. The new Mud Pie bar is a rich whipped cream and chocolate mousse smothered in 100% real chocolate and topped with cookies and cream crumble. You got to try Mud Pie as soon as possible, because you need to hurry, because the Mud Pie bar and Mud Pie puffs are only available for a limited time. So visit built.com to taste the deliciousness yourself. Not convinced? Luckily, we saved the best for last. It's actually good for you. All the Built products are low in calories, high protein, and low sugar. Mud Pie is packed with 16 grams of protein and only 150 calories and 8 grams of sugar. It's like your mom baked the most delicious cream chocolate Mud Pie and wrapped it up just for you. So head over to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Also, we have an important favor to ask you. We put together a survey so we can learn more about the listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win up to 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. So how was, as your experience, you mentioned you kind of a career AHL guy, you played almost 600 games. How does your, you were a 7th round pick, so it's not like you were a highly touted prospect coming into, but you stuck around. How does that help you with some of these guys, especially when you have guys who are, 1st or 2nd or, kind of maybe highly touted prospects coming in?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I took away from my playing career is a huge amount of respect for the American League. I think a lot of players, particularly those that are drafted high, and have quote unquote that NHL pedigree, they kind of think they're going to come in and run the show and do whatever they want on the ice. And a lot of times the AHL is actually more difficult to play in than the NHL because it's a little scramblier. It's moving away from this, but it was a little bit rougher back in the day. It can be a little more difficult. And so I think, instilling in these guys, hey, this is a good league. Yes, it is below the NHL. And I think if you come in and you think that you're just going to kind of show up and you're worried about points and numbers, I think that's when the league's going to come back and bite you, because there's a lot of players that are looking to move up. So, they're giving their all every night and every day in practice. And if you come in and you give anything less than your best, you'll find out quickly that not only are you not going to move up to the NHL, you're not going to succeed in this league, and you'll have a short career. And I think instilling that in the guys and using myself as an example, I played a little bit in the NHL, but I was never able to establish myself in the NHL. I think kind of getting across to them that you have to have that NHL talent, first of all, and second of all, those NHL habits have to be present every single day. If you're in a situation where you're getting called up to the NHL, you can't have one bad practice. You just can't do it. They'll get rid of you. It's the best league in the world for a reason. And so I think adopting those habits, that work ethic, so that it just becomes second nature is important. You can't really be in a situation where you have to think, maybe I should work out here, or maybe I should stay on late here. It just kind of has to be in you, so that you just do it.
Makes sense. Like you said, if you don't put in the work, it doesn't matter if you're the most NHL, caliber skills, but like you said, it's a job, and the guys in the NHL, those guys have put in that work and put in those habits and stuff. And I think that's really interesting to see where, trying to blend those, especially with the Sharks. They have, like you mentioned, they have a huge amount of talent coming in. You have Ozzy and Tristen Robins and Brandon Coe and Daniil Gushchin played a couple games last season, and like all these guys are going to be starting to play. Mm-hmm. How do you blend these guys of your first year guys with some of the guys who've been around for a little bit and try to kind of blend that all together?
Yeah. So every team has kind of a different dynamic. A lot of times it's similar, but I think kind of seeing the way the locker room develops is kind of an exciting part of coaching too. Seeing where guys start at the beginning of the year, where they end at the end of the year, not only from a hockey standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from a personality standpoint. It's fun to see that progression, but I think it's going to be important that the message we get to these younger players, because they're all very talented. All those guys you just named are highly thought of, but they have to realize that nothing's going to be handed to them when they come in like I said, they were the best players on all of their junior teams without a doubt. But when you come here, the clock resets a little bit to an extent. You're going to have to earn your ice time. You're going to have to earn your power play time. We have a standard on the Barracuda as far as work ethic, as far as attention to detail, as far as kind of comprehending what we're telling them. And if you're not up to that standard, you're not going to play. You're not going to get the ice time you want. And until things get to that level, you won't play. So I think it's important about establishing that standard immediately right off the bat in training camp, and then enforcing it throughout the year. I think at times when teams get in trouble is when things start to slip, right? A lot of times if you watch a winning streak, say there's a 10-game winning streak, at around 7 games, you'll actually see the team's play start to slip, but they're still winning because they're confident, because their goaltending's hot, because their special teams are hot, right? And so the losing doesn't necessarily happen when the game starts to slip. The game starts to slip, you maybe win 2-3 more, and then the losses.
The bad habits.
They creep in. They kind of add on to themselves. It's kind of like a snowball effect. And then you'll start to see the losses come. So my point is that, establishing this standard and then maintaining it throughout the rest of the season is important.
So with this 2020 draft class, there's kind of something special, or I guess something different with them, because a lot of these guys have, with the COVID year in 2020, where, a lot of like the OHL didn't play at all, the WHL only, I think they played like 24 games. So a lot of these guys actually have a little bit of experience, like Brandon Coe was around the whole team, was around the team the season. I think Robins played a couple games. Ozzy played a couple games. How big is that for them coming into camp with already having some experience under their belt?
Yeah, it is big. It's big for them. You mentioned Brandon Coe. He had a really good year last year in North Bay. He did get an entire season, but I hope what he took away from that, and having talked to him, I hope he gained some respect for the American Hockey League. He got a lot of game experience during his time with us, but he also got to hang around kind of those older standard bearing players, Magna, guys like that have extended their careers essentially by doing the right things all the time, right? Coming into the rink early, ready to work, staying late if you need to, coming in prepared. That's one thing that I think a lot of young players struggle with is, they're rolling out of bed and they're coming in and, they look like they haven't showered, they haven't eaten their breakfast. It's simple things like that. If you get into a routine of doing things correctly, like I said before, it kind of you just kind of do it. You don't even have to think about it. So yeah, it's good to have that experience. But I hope what they took away from that is that this league is difficult. This league is competitive. And it's not a situation where you just kind of come and put in your time and then you go to the NHL. It doesn't really matter where you were drafted. It doesn't really matter what your stats were in junior. You're expected to show up here and be a good professional, be a good teammate, and play the right way.
So you mentioned Jacob Magna, who, has kind of been one of those guys, like a stalwart with the Barracuda. And then, last year he got his shot with the Sharks, and, he stuck around and played a ton of games with them. How difficult is it kind of find another guy like that who can kind of, be like the dad out there, especially when you have a bunch of like 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, and Jacob Magna has been around and seen it all kind of deal. How tough is that, losing him? It's
tough. It's tough because you mentioned it. You need to find a player that plays the right way and does things right on the ice. But the other side of that is you need to find a person that is willing to bring along the young guys. Like, yes, your own game is important, but if you're in that position, and Megs is a little bit of an anomaly because he did end up making it back to the NHL, right? And he played almost all last year up. He re-signed an NHL contract. So it's a little bit of an anomaly, but my point is that you got to find the player, but you also got to find the person that is able to not necessarily reset their expectations and just kind of be happy being in the American League, but instead you got to find someone that, hey, part of success for me is if those young guys are having success as well. That's essentially, you're going to be judged on not only your own game, but are these younger guys falling in line? Are they adjusting to the game, the pro game? Are they adjusting to the pro lifestyle? Those types of things also go into, evaluating those leadership players. So to answer your question, it's very difficult. But I think with enough kind of research, not only from a scouting perspective, so on ice, but also, talking to past coaches, talking to former teammates, looking into their past. I think that's equally important to their game.
Awesome. All right, let's get to know a little bit more about you, Coach. You played for a long time, like you said. Any pregame rituals that transfer over from a player to a coach? Is there anything that you have to do before the game?
Not really, no. When I was playing, I was a little bit, I had a lot of anxiety on game days. I probably didn't show it that much. But I was always kind of going by the clock. I always had a certain time I started getting dressed. Always had a certain time I started my warm up. It just, as I said, it was one of those things where I just kind of did it my first year, and then I just kind of stuck with it. And before I knew it, it had been 11 years doing the same thing. So no superstitions or anything, but, timing was always important to me so that the routine stayed the same. It was kind of like a uniform process.
Is there a routine going to coach? You're like, okay, I got to put my suit on now. I got to do this now. I guess you're going to kind of have to figure it out here.
The suit, not so much, but
that's the last possible thing, right? That you get to is the suit.
I do think, having a standard time where the coach goes into the locker room to talk to the games, I think there's value in that, that I plan on using, actually.
Nice. More nervous coaching before a game or more nervous playing the actual games?
Well, the last couple of years, I haven't been on the bench. I've been up in the press box, so there was very little anxiety with that. I would say playing would be.
Gotcha.
There's a lot going on out there. Excuse me. It's a fast game. A lot of kind of variables to think about. You got to kind of think while you're moving.
And not thinking at the same time too.
Bit of a stressful situation. So I would say playing.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, because you can also control more. I guess that's the anxiety with the coaching is where you can put people in the best position, but if they just don't execute or something else happens, there's that kind of issues with it. So,
right.
So the Cuda, of course, exciting times for them. They've got a new building opening up down the street. They've got the new black jerseys. Have you gotten a chance to go see the new building as it's getting built? Thoughts on it?
Yeah, we did a walkthrough before, right at the end of the season. It was really impressive. I think it's a perfect size. That's the thing with, excuse me.
No worries.
When we were playing in the SAP Center, it was so big that, sometimes when they're crowd on those weekday games, we don't get that big of a crowd. It looks that much more empty when you have the building that big. I think, if we're able to get half capacity, 3/4 capacity, full capacity would be great. In the new rink, I think it's a perfect size for minor league hockey. In the facilities, granted, when we saw it, it's obviously still under construction. But the layout of the locker room is great. Players will have a fantastic lounge that they can hang out in. The coaches' offices have more space than you could ever imagine. There's a film room. There's everything you could possibly need. And to think about how far it's come along from when I was playing, and the guys probably don't realize how lucky they are to have the facilities they have.
Yeah, and especially, because you played in Worcester, and it's like to get called up, it's like you got to take a plane ride, across the country. And now it's like if you get called up, it's right down the street type of thing. I don't know, big jersey guy. Do you like the black jerseys, or I'm actually very partial to the orange ones and very sad that the orange ones are going away. But what do you think of the black ones?
I really like the black ones. We had a couple when I was playing. We had a couple. They do like specialty jerseys some nights, and we had a couple that were black jerseys, black pants, black socks. I really liked the black helmets. I thought it was a good look.
Good. All right. Last question. I know you guys how's the assistant coach search going? I know you guys haven't announced any yet, but how's that going?
It's good. Yeah, we haven't announced any because we haven't hired them. We're in the process right now. We kind of reached out and just doing some background on people and talking to different people and, moving forward with it. And as far as timing, I don't think it's a rush. I just really feel like we got to find the right people. So we're not putting really a time frame on it, but it's an exciting process, that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, good. Then I'm going to officially put my application in. I've been working on my hockey speak, so let me know how I'm doing. So, all right, boys, we need to go hard in the corners. Got to play a full 200-foot game. Keep your head up. I can also run power play. We should score here. I can play penalty kill. Don't let them score. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good. That's not bad. We'll have to take it under advisement.
All right. This is the last episode of Locked on Sharks. I've been officially hired as the assistant coach of the Barracuda. We had a good run. So, Coach, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. I'm really excited for the Cuda. I know every Sharks fan right now, they're really excited for the Cuda and these prospects that are getting ready to make their, kind of get ready to start playing and hopefully make the Sharks here in a couple of years. So, best of luck to you this year. Good luck this season. And we're excited to see what you can do with this team.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Coach John McCarthy of the San Jose Barracuda. I know me personally, I know every Sharks fan, they're excited about the Cuda and seeing, your Tristen Robins and your Ozzy Wiesblatts and your Brandon Coes and your Gushchins and all these guys starting to make an impact and making that next step to being a San Jose Shark. So it was nice of him to, take 20 minutes out of his day to talk to me. I know he's a very busy guy right now, trying to hire new assistant coaches and getting ready for a brand new season and stuff like that. So thank you again to Coach McCarthy. If you guys liked what you saw and heard today, you can, of course, find me you can find the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I man those, I'm very active on those and more than happy to chat with you on there. You can, of course, listen wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey. If you're listening on Apple, please 5-star review. It really helps the show grow, gets us out to new listeners. So, and then YouTube, we've hit 900 subscribers. We're 100 away from reaching that 1,000 goal before the draft. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And we're going to be doing a giveaway this week. I've got 3 San Jose Sharks fan appreciation jerseys that I'll be giving away. So check out the YouTube page for more information on that. And of course, go check out you can find me on Twitter, of course, at my fry hole. You can go check out the NHL, Locked On NHL show. The playoffs, not the playoffs, the Stanley Cup finals are set. You've got the Avs. You've got the Lightning. It should be super fun. So if you want to get caught up on what's going on, learn more about these teams, go check out the Locked On NHL show or check out the Locked On Lightning or Locked On Avalanche show. All those guys do amazing work. So go check out those. And I'll be back tomorrow with Tony Ferrari to do another draft prospect. So bye, friends.